Let's put language under a microscope and see what things are made of. Hello, welcome to Light Linguistics. Let's start at the highest layer, the sentence level. For today, we'll use this example sentence. The dogs unwelcomingly greeted a cat. We can see that this sentence clearly has a subject, the dogs, a verb, greeted, and an object, a cat. But there's more word order we can dig into than that. Determiners like the and a must come before the noun they modify, so the dogs, a cat, not dogs the or cat a. Beyond this, the adverb unwelcomingly occurs immediately before the verb greeted in this sentence. But it could be pretty freely moved around, such as unwelcomingly, the dogs greeted a cat, or the dogs greeted a cat unwelcomingly. But it can't go just anywhere. For instance, you can't say the unwelcomingly dogs greeted a cat. And it's even weird to say the dogs greeted unwelcomingly a cat. The linguistic study of how words fit together to make sentences like this is called syntax. But there are other fields at play here. You can also break this sentence down with the study of linguistic semantics. Semantically, this sentence breaks down into an agent, the thing doing the action, which is the dogs, and a patient or experiencer, which is the thing receiving the action, a cat. These labels of agent and patient are known as thematic roles, also known as theta roles. Since words can take on so many different possible roles within a sentence, the list of thematic roles is huge. Let's add on to this sentence and explore it a little bit. Let's say the sentence was, the dogs unwelcomingly greeted a cat at the barn with their teeth. In the eyes of syntax, both barn and teeth are objects of a preposition, at the barn, with their teeth. And both of those prepositional phrases, at the barn, with their teeth, describe the verb, greeted, and how the dogs greeted them, making those phrases function as adverbs. But through the eyes of semantics, they're completely different. Barn is describing the location that the event took place, meaning it has the location theta role. While teeth gives the tool the dogs used to greet the cat, giving it the instrumental theta role. Now you might be asking, why bother splitting all this up? Why not consider syntax and semantics together? And they do often play together. A full understanding of one will give you a better understanding of what's going on with the other one. For instance, let's flip the sentence. A cat was greeted unwelcomingly by the dogs. Semantically, this sentence is in passive voice, meaning the patient is emphasized at the beginning and the agent is de-emphasized at the end. At first glance, it looks like a cat is the subject, was greeted is the verb, and the dogs is an object of the preposition that describes how the cats were greeted? This is where semantics comes in. You see, semantically, a cat is still the patient and the dogs are still the agent. And so, using syntax, you can further emphasize or de-emphasize thematic roles. Say you wanted to emphasize that instrumental theta role, you could say, with their teeth, the dogs unwelcomingly greeted a cat at the barn. So this sentence-level study is the area of syntax and semantics. There's also some sociolinguistics at this level, which is how language interacts with society. For instance, what does it mean for a dog to be unwelcoming within a given cultural context? Sociolinguistics is pretty closely tied with semantics, but it has a little bit of a broader scope, making it hard to analyze with just one sentence. But rather than going broader, we're going to break out the microscope and start breaking it down at a lower level. Fairly obviously, this sentence can be broken up into individual words. The dogs unwelcomingly greeted a cat. But these words can be broken up further into smaller units of meaning. For instance, dogs can be broken up into smaller units of meaning, the base dog and the plural marker s. These smaller units are called morphemes, and the study of them is morphology. In English, most morphemes can occur on their own with no connection to any other morpheme. These are known as free morphemes. The free morphemes in this example are the dog, welcome, greet a cat. The and a are free morphemes that just can't be attached to anything else under any circumstance, while other words are typically more open to it. The other category of morpheme is a bound morpheme, and these typically cannot occur on their own. In this sentence, the bound morphemes are the plural s in dogs, un, ing, and li in unwelcomingly, and the past tense ed in greeted. You can't have that plural marker s if it's not attached to a noun. You can't have ing if it's not attached to a verb. And different bound morphemes can only attach to certain types of words. For instance, what would it mean to be an undog? And you can't have a countable number of greets like you can with dogs. But, fun for us, bound morphemes can change the part of speech of a word. For instance, while there's no such thing as an undog, you can be undog-like. In this case, the like morpheme turns dog into dog-like, making a noun into an adjective. And un loves adjectives, so it can now attach to dog-like. And because of the order that these things go on, it doesn't mean like an undog, it means unlike a dog. Unwelcomingly is a really fun one for this. Welcome, in this case, is a verb, and welcoming becomes an adjective. Un can now attach to that adjective to make it unwelcoming. But if we stop there, it'll just be the unwelcoming dogs, modifying dogs, not greeted. So to change that adjective into an adverb so we can modify greeted, we add ly to the end. Ly can't go on verbs. You can't say welcomely. It can only go on adjectives, so you have to have that ing in there. Other languages like Finnish, Greek, Latin, and German have much more morphology than English has. On the other hand, in English, we typically like to label things as either a word or not a word, which is much more complex than that. For instance, in English, something can be picturesque or statuesque or even Kafkaesque, but can it be light bulb-esque? If you say something looks paperclippy, is paperclippy a word? And so once you're aware of these kind of things to look out for, it's a whole lot of fun to play with. But let's pull out the microscope and go one more level down. Each word and morpheme is made up of individual sounds, like dogs is d, a, g, z. And the study of these sounds is called phonetics, and the study of how these sounds interact with each other is called phonology. Every sound the human mouth can make can be categorized based on certain properties. For instance, the duh in dog is known as a voiced alveolar stop. It's voiced because your vocal cords are moving, it's alveolar because your tongue is on the alveolar ridge behind your teeth, and it's a stop because it completely stops airflow. There's actually a chart, the International Phonetic Alphabet, that gets into every single sound, but I'm not going to break all of that down today. Let's just compare the words dogs and cats. Vowels are a beast in and of themselves, so I'm just going to be sticking with consonants. D, G, C, and T are all known as stops because they involve a complete stoppage of airflow through the mouth. S, however, is known as a fricative because air keeps going through your mouth and makes sound based on that friction. Breaking it down further, duh and guh are both voiced stops, meaning your vocal cords are moving for it, while ka and ta are voiceless stops, meaning your vocal cords aren't moving. And S, that fricative, is voiceless. That's a phonetic analysis of those sounds, what each sound is individually. So now let's go to phonology and see how those sounds work together. S, at the ends of words, really likes to take on the voicing of whatever sound comes before it. So in cats, since T is voiceless, S also remains voiceless, cats. But in dogs, since G is voiced, S also becomes voiced, becoming more of a Z, dogs. So to recap, that's how sounds are made and work together to make parts of words called morphemes, which work together to make words, which work together to fit together in the right places and carry the right meanings to make a sentence. So that's a brief introduction into parts of 6 major fields of linguistics. If you want to go deeper on any of these subjects, let me know, and as always, like and follow for more language.